Hello there and welcome to a first impressions video of the Spyderco Sustain knife. Now when I first saw this knife design I knew I just had to go and buy it. This design, I've been wanting something like this forever. I'd seen some custom knives made in this style, but I hadn't seen anything commercial from Spyderco or Cold Steel or something like that. And then this came along and it was that. I'll explain what I mean by that. Basically this design is designed to be very practical and you can be used in a self-defense or to dispatch an animal, you know, pig sticking, that kind of thing, with its sharp pointed edge swedge to enable penetration and thin blade. So this can be used in self-defense, this can be used to dispatch an animal, to defend yourself against an animal attack. But it's also a practical knife that can do all the other things in a camp. It's not too thick, so you can do fine cutting work with it. It's got a saber grind, so it's not going to stick in things. I find that to be a best grind. It's got a good thin edge. It's got a it's sharp. It's made out of a good steel, and the handle is not its strongest point, but it's okay. The sheath, yet again, not exactly its strongest point, but it's okay. So it's the geometry of the blade, the design of the blade, along with its steel type is really what sold me on this knife. Just first impressions of the knife just over the last couple of days. Very, very high quality. I bought a lot of Spyderco products, so they got very good standards. It all seems to be really well made. It feels good in the hand. I'm happy enough with it. I was a little unhappy that they sell it with this leather sheath. I'm not normally a fan of leather sheaths. I like Kydex or Boltrex or one of those types. But, after having put this on my belt and played around with it, I do quite like it. The knife comes out easily. The thing about Kydex is you really have to sometimes give it a bit of tug to get it out of there. Here it kind of, slips out quite nicely, but it also feels like it's held in there securely. The reason I don't like leather is, of course, if it gets wet, they can get mouldy, it needs upkeep, it can absorb water, it's a bit more, of maintenance fuss than Kydex, which is just plastic and can take a beating, it doesn't matter. But I might get some Kydex and learn how to make a sheath. I do need to do that eventually. So that's a future project. The sheath itself is good though. The knife does fit well into the sheath. Let's see now. So it sits well up to the hilt. I did find that pulling it out was a bit awkward because you have to kind of get this and then get enough for purchase to pull it out. But I've made a number of modifications, as you can see. This is why I have this lanyard. Normally I don't use lanyards, but one of the main reasons why I actually would want to use them is situations like this. So what I do is I hook the thumb through there, wrap it around the hand like that, and then you can just pull your hand, the knife comes out with you, and you grab it and it comes out. That's actually really cool, and this is made to the perfect length, so it feels tight, and that's going to stop the knife. It's going to stop your hand riding up and going onto. There's no way my hand can go onto the edge of that knife. This is just a standard paracord. Also, given that this knife could be used for pig sticking, defense, dispatching animals, that kind of thing, defense, having a lanyard like this to actually stop you, and it kind of tightens your hand down on the handle, makes the knife feel really secure, is kind of a good thing. So I actually like the fact that I've done that. So that's the first modification. Second modification, as you can see, is this cord wrapped around the handle. So the handle, I was worried that the handle would be slippery. It's not quite slippery. The worst knife I've got for this is another Spyderco knife. It's the Spyderco Bushcraft. I don't have it here, but it's got a really shiny, slippery handle, and that's not good. I don't know why anyone would deem it acceptable to ship a knife with a slippery, shiny handle. Hate that stuff. This feels kind of a little bit tacky. It's not quite up to, like a paramilitary with this just great G10, textured kind of stuff. I love that. But it's not really slippery, but you're not as good a grip as it could be. So it's kind of middle ground there. I like that it's thin. The blade is thin and the handle is also thin, so it feels good in the hand. So I added these, just add a little more grip, and obviously with the lanyard that'll help again. This little finger crevice here, or whatever you call it, feels a bit weird. It's like my natural inclination to grab the knife is to do that, but that means that this bump is pushing into the fleshy bit of my middle finger, which feels bad after a while. So that's kind of a little awkward for me. But with the lanyard, my hand is actually pulled back a bit, and I do find then that I'm kind of back here and the bump is in the proper position, so maybe that's what they intended. So with the lanyard, sorry, the natural position for the knife is fingers here like that, and that gives you a bit more reach as well. Your hand is pulled back onto the handle, and I quite like the way it feels when I do that. So the handle is not a great point on this knife. I would like something different, but with these modifications I've made, I reckon I've got it to a usable state. Another modification that wouldn't surprise you if you've seen videos on my channel before is I have put this on a bench grinder, and I have sharpened that 90-degree spine just on this part here, the bit where it's flat. It goes to the swedge there, and we've got this unsharpened swedge, but this bit is a standard back of the knife spine. Now I really like that, because there's no reason to have the swedge come all the way back here, because this part of the knife is like, I like to use ferrocerium rods or to scrape bits of wood. I use that part of the knife as well. So that's what I mean about this knife's design. It's sharp, it's got the swedge which helps penetration, and got a great blade edge and all that kind of stuff. The length is just about right, the handle is okay, the sheath, depending upon whether you like leather or not, is okay. But this part is what I really saw about it and said, yes, that's the design I wanted, because that part of the knife is going to help me in tons and tons of bushcraft tasks. Like I say, getting fine tinder, shavings off of a stick, striking a fire seal, is great for that. Now, it doesn't seem like Spyderco thought about that when they were designing this, or I should say, this is designed by Stuart Ackerman. There's his logo there. I don't think you'll see that very well. Stuart Ackerman is originally from South Africa, but he lives here in New Zealand now. Not where I am, but he's on the west coast of the South Island, I believe. Anyway, so he actually had Kiwi pig stickers in mind when he designed this, which is something I've not done myself, but I wouldn't mind eventually doing. So yes, very practical knife, all sorts of purposes as well as camp purposes. So I'm hoping that's why he put that there. But it's a bit irritating that knives don't have a very sharp spine provided on them. Like it's agreed they have to have a sharp edge, but come on, I mean, what use is a slightly curved, unsharpened spine on a knife? Make it sharp, give it a purpose. I mean, I don't know, it seems so blatantly obvious to me that's beneficial for a knife to have. I don't know why manufacturers don't put it on a knife. Anyway, so bench grinder it is, and it was very easy to put it on. Didn't make a mess of it, which sometimes you can do. If you're putting this on a bench grinder, you just want to put a bit of tape on that part and use that as the flat base to kind of pull it along the bench grinder. I decided not to grind the swedge. I mean, I use this part of the knife when I use a knife, and having a sharpened swedge, I mean, you're too far down. Like if you've got a stick here, you've not got enough control, whereas you've got lots of control here. So that's the only part I really would want to be sharp. And it's worked out well, it's sharp now, so that's great. That's why you kind of learn these skills, to get a bench grinder to sharpen the edges and knives and to bring a knife back with a profile. You know, kydex making kit is a skill I hope to learn so I can make my own sheaths. One of the things I did want to do with this is to actually use this to dive. So, or if I'm, you know, in a situation where I'm camping, I could be near the water or I could be near the seafront and I might want to use a knife. And that's why having a good corrosion resistant steel would be good for that. I've not put this through the paces. I don't know how corrosion resistant it really is, but this is the first Spyderco knife that uses CPM 20 CV steel. Apparently this is a good steel that's got good edge retention and it's got good corrosion resistance. I like having good corrosion resistance on knives. I mean, I've had really hard tool steel knives before that had terrible corrosion resistance, and I accidentally left them somewhere whilst I went off to do something else, or I left them on the counter, and there was a little bit of water on them, and then I come back and it's just rust all over the blade. It's a nightmare. So it really is important to me to actually have a good corrosion resistant knife. So all in all, I'm really stoked with this knife. This feels really good quality. It feels like it could be the final knife I'll ever need, unless they make a new one with all the kind of things I want fixed, done. Yeah, I mean, I've got really good first impression of this. I've just been taking it out of the sheath, putting it back in, just looking at it, gazing at it lovingly, swishing it around, stabbing, like, you know, practicing and just seeing how it feels, and it feels really good. It feels like a really good knife. So hopefully, this should be my, you know, all-the-time knife, apart from EDC. And yeah, I would like to probably follow up with a practical video with me using it and everything, but I can't see how it would be bad at anything from light to moderate tasks. Not a heavy knife, not a heavy duty knife. So yeah, but anything else should be fine, I think. Yeah, so that's it. I think first impressions are really good, really positive so far. So we'll have to see how it works out. Watch this space.